Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Chiron Intensive. It's Zeta here in this recording session. I want to remind you the Chiron Intensive is a space where we dive deep into healing. Inspired by Chiron, the wounded healer, this podcast explores how our struggles can become our strength. It's about real talk, real growth, and creating community for young adults who deserve to thrive. So, all right, we're going to get right into it. Today's conversation, I wanted to talk about the importance of accountability for your healing journey. So, accountability is the obligation to own your actions and their consequences, whether positive or negative. So, it involves being answerable for your choices, your commitments. So it can be demonstrated by admitting your mistakes, following through with your task, your goals, and accepting the impact of your actions. So I feel like we can all say, right, that holding yourself accountable is a necessary and maybe sometimes scary part of healing, right? You go beyond the desire to just heal, right? And you could end up asking yourself, where do I need the most work on? What was the harm that I caused and to whom it happened? Or who can I work with to resolve this? So accountability is not about beating yourself up, right? It's about realistically assessing the role you play or have played. So you want to see in the perspective of your healing journey, right? You have to see where your strengths are, where your mistakes were, and you be honest with yourself. You're not going to dismiss anything, right? Sometimes you may fear seeing what's the truth, but behind the truth is where you can get the most work done, where you can find the most part of your healing, right? And it has to start with you because you live with yourself, right? You're going to be in this body. It's 24/7. You live with yourself. You know what you're thinking. You know what you're doing. You knowing yourself the moment before you made a mistake, right? And of course, accountability is more than just the mistakes, but essentially you're acknowledging that you control yourself first. Out of all these other things, you start off with controlling yourself. You start off with being able to keep track, right? Being responsible for yourself. So accountability is where action and true change takes place. Okay? Once you hold yourself accountable, you become more aligned with your goals to where you want to be in your healing journey. And I would say, for example, accountability looks like tracking your progress through journaling or logging. And that's something that I've been meaning to do because lately I've been experiencing like some skin flare-ups and I wanted to do much better with like things like cholesterol because high cholesterol runs in my family, right? And one of the things that I felt like, ding, ding, well, if you know you're having flare-ups it's killing your confidence a little bit when your health is not to where it should be. How about you log what you're eating? And that's just a simple thing, right? I can grab an Excel sheet. I can use my journal. I can start off with just a piece of paper, a napkin, and tracking where I'm at so that I can see what I can do as a first step to make myself feeling better, right? So you could, accountability also looks like shifting your perspective a little bit, just to see how you may have hurt others, right? Sometimes, maybe in the midst of the moment of things, you're upset that it's hard to sometimes see the other person because maybe you have been hurt. And I'm not saying this applies to every single one because sometimes, in a good majority of the times, it's not always just you, right? If somebody has done you wrong, usually it's them that's hurting you and you didn't do anything to deserve the hurt. But when I'm saying shifted your perspective a bit, like let's say, for example, me and my sister, sometimes we do fight and I love them so much, but sometimes we do. And Where I could have been in the wrong is knowing that maybe my sister doesn't like it if I poke and prod at her to do something, when I could more mindfully just give her a reminder and give her time instead of trying to rush her, right? In my perspective, I just wanted something to get done. But her perspective, she doesn't want to feel like she's being poked and prodded, right? I could shift my perspective a bit to just see, well, her as a person, she just rather you just say it once and then allow her time to get to it, right? And that's where I know, okay, I can shift how I can communicate what I need from my sister. And that's what I mean, right? I'm not speaking of somebody hurting you at a level where it's just, anything traumatic, anything like that. You don't have to necessarily shift your perspective to hold yourself accountable in that way. I just want to say anybody who experiences any type of assault, you don't have to shift your perspective to see where you've been accountable. If somebody assaulted you or any form of that matter, there was nothing that you did to deserve it. Okay. This is not about blaming yourself. Okay. And accountability also looks like reflecting on your goals. Accountability can even look like finding your purpose, your passion, right? Not beating yourself up for not finding your purpose, right? You allowing yourself to explore it because that's what's good for you, right? Accountability can look like checking in with mental health professionals, your support system, those that you love that will even help you hold yourself even more accountable or give you proper guidance, right? And I think most importantly, right, accountability looks like loving yourself. You hold yourself accountable because you love yourself, right? I know in various episodes we mentioned how you basically treat yourself as if you are a very good friend. And a very good friend of yours would be able to open your eyes to see where you could do better, right? Or where you can accept responsibility. So I want to just help you guys out and remind you what is an example of what's not accountability. And I think I wanted to just say it with some phrases or beliefs that somebody may say if they struggle with holding themselves accountable. So an example of what's not accountability is saying, that's just who I am, right? Because when you say something like that, it's just saying that it just stops right there, right? But everything starts and stops with you. And, being defeatist and just succumbing to that's just who I am might minimize you again to what you could do to do better. Another one is, why do I have to be the one to heal? And the reason why that's not accountability is because now we are stuck in the past, or you're using the pain of whatever held you back, whatever has done you wrong, and not allowing yourself to be able to move forward within yourself, right? Why do you have to be the one to heal? You have to be the one to heal so that you can have a better life, that you can feel better about yourself, and that so you can avoid doing the same thing to others, right? So without accountability, you may end up doing the same thing that others have done to hurt you, or you become a burden to yourself or those who are more than willing to support and love you, okay? So I know in a previous episode, I talked about my car accident. And I think one of the biggest things, the mistake that I made was very bad, right? And I think there's no other way to say that it was very bad. And I think one of the only ways I would have been able to grow from it was to acknowledge the fact that, one, I should have made sure I had car insurance. And two, that I have to be more mindful of traffic lights. Because I knew that Tallahassee does have sometimes confusing traffic lights, traffic signals, or lanes. And I knew where I was at. And that's where I hold myself accountable. You see how I didn't really sit there and try to blame myself, like old me, the one who struggled with it. It would have been like either I'm so stupid, saying negative stuff like that, or it's that person's fault for hitting me, when it was, no, I mistaked the wrong light and I ran the red light, right? And I think keeping something sometimes as factual and not hurtful can help you bypass painful memories like that, because that was a painful memory for myself. So I want to say that not only does accountability allow you to kickstart your healing journey, but it also builds the self-trust and integrity necessary to keep you going despite the challenges that life may throw at you, okay? So when first starting holding yourself accountable, you may feel a bit challenged, and that is okay. The main goal is to be empowered and be empowered to own your actions. You are owning all of you, and you are going to see how much more you can rise, okay? So when holding yourself accountable, you can consider whether, do I need to set more of those boundaries with that person? It didn't feel too good, and I can't control what they did, but I know I can set more boundaries to protect myself. Maybe it's, you know what? It's better for my mental health to go to bed sooner. I'm going to go to bed sooner. Is it fair to lash out on others because I'm stressed, right? Consider those things. And it could vary day by day. The demands of your journey could vary, and it could look different, but it's still going to follow the premise of what responsibility can you own, and how does that responsibility can be shifted to move you further, right? You just have to consider how the first step starts with you. So to build trust and integrity into your life, I want you to be mindful of what you do throughout your day, and acknowledge on paper what were the things that you held yourself accountable for. And as you write those down, consider what you learned from those moments, what you can give yourself kudos for, and maybe what you can do next time if something similar happens, right? I want you to journal that, write that down, and really try to think, ponder, and absorb what is the lesson necessary, or the necessary step or action or belief that you can shift within yourself. And I want to say, last but not least, that for those who are listening that is supporting someone who's working on being accountable, I want you to remember to please be that safe space for that person. Validate their experiences and communicate with them respectfully, and respectfully speak up when you feel like they need to own up to anything. I want you to create a space where they feel safe, where they feel respected, but also provide them a moment to be a better human and to be able to go farther in their journey as a healing human. So that is the end of my chat with you guys. You can follow us where you stream your podcasts. Thank you again for listening to the Chiron Intensive. Don't forget to visit us at www.groundedstars.com to explore our workshops, courses, and community spaces, and or book a class today. Thank you so much, and we shall see you again soon. Bye.